remember they're changing my voice. There's a lot to the book of Revelation. And in this video, I'm just going to go through parts of Revelation 13, 14, 17, and 18 to overkill that sexual immorality is key in what happens in the end, right? What are the boundaries of the beast? Sexual immorality. We have to look at the context. A lot of people, they make the mistake when they think of the mark of the beast is they don't try to connect it to other parts of the Bible, and they don't put it in context. They just say, and they look at the world, and they listen to TV, and they listen to YouTube. They're not putting it into context. You will get conned if you don't put it into context. Basically. All right. So in the first paragraph, I'll go over the mark of the horny devil beast. Second paragraph, I'll show how the Babylon is the dominant spirit of all the nations and all marriages, but my parents are invalid. Okay, unless I was to get married, which I won't. And that adulterers in God's fury are connected, right? Very strong connection. You'll see what I mean shortly. Third, the prostitute. Third paragraph is about the prostitute and crazed, horny devils and assorted cowards that wage war against me because they want their kind of Western erotic desire culture, right? Porn, rock and roll, suburban people, corporate people who in social clubs that pretend that they're decent when they're just psychology using horny devils like the rest of people, especially contrast Luciferian types wearing suits that pretend like they're better when they're worse. In the last paragraph, we'll talk about Revelation 18, one of the most important books in the Bible, because it says, come out of Babylon's system in a way that you're a dumbass if you think it allows for you to assimilate to the world. It's like Matthew 10, it says, do not find your life in this world. Come out of Babylon's system. All right, let's get this started, shall we? The title, Sexual Immorality and Worldly Marriages Are Key in the Mark of the Beast. Watch the video twice and take notes, work the angles, and you will see that I must be right. This is the true interpretation of common sense from God. People slip into denial and deny that I'm right as they never grew up, but the evidence is overwhelming that I'm right and that I'm Christ. To ignore the overwhelming evidence that something is true and to behave like you do not believe it is true is the essence of the definition of delusional. So I'll prove definitively that anyone who doesn't agree that this is the logical interpretation, Isaiah 28:17, the boundaries of righteousness and justice, not what you want it to be, not what your church taught you, but righteousness and justice from God. True, universal, pinpointed righteousness and justice. All right, Revelation 13, 15, skipping down to 15. The second beast was given power to breathe. Remember, spiritus means breathing, right? So to give the power to breathe the spirit, okay, to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. It also, remember, it's all who refuse to worship the image will be killed. That's why one of the few things that Christians in popular culture seem to have gotten right is that when the mark of the beast comes and is here now, okay, that if you don't do it their way, you'll be screened out. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be screened out in the divine order, rallying to me, okay? It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark, which, and this is me adding my notes to it, marking satanic boundaries and a brand of ownership, acceptance of a satanic mind, body, soul, and spirit state, right? State of mind, government, state meant meaning mind, like in the word mental, on their right hands or on their foreheads. The hands are for the works, especially in the context of evil works, complicity with worldly so-called warrior works, military, government, police, etc. As the horns are the beasts, the horns of the beast are kings, and that's what Revelation points out. And God's right hand is his warrior hand in the Bible, and it does other divine works. The forehead is where God puts his seal on the 144,000, so it symbolizes mind, body, soul, and spirit, and who they belong to. Okay, so the right hand of God said, in Psalm 118, it says that all the nations surrounded him, but in the name of God, he struck them down. And afterwards, it goes on to say that the Lord's right hand is lifted high. One of many examples of how God's right hand is the hand, the warrior spirit, and it can be expressed in actual combat. But it has to be in the divine order, and only I am in the divine order. My parents are blameless, but they do not obey God through me. So they're not doing God's work, they're just living. All right, where we're here. Okay. So, okay, verse 17. So that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Here's an example of context. So I just said the police, the military, the government, so on and so forth. Well, who enforces the rules? The police, the military, the government, intelligence agencies. So they're telling you that you can't buy or sell unless you do it their way, the horny devil beast way. Solomon, in the book of Kings, I believe it's First Kings, he said 666. Okay, he had 666 talents of gold, and it's called talents. And they love this wordplay stuff. It has something to do with how they define language later on, and the fact that English is Latin-based, and Latin was the language of the Roman Empire, and it was right there by the Hebrews and so on, and the Greek and so on and so forth. Okay, so Solomon, 666 talents of gold. Six, one of the ways you say six in Latin is sex. Okay, and soul is Spanish, I guess it's Latin too, for sun, but certainly Spanish for sun. O for the reproductive cycle, and mon, short for moon, because, phonetics, and wordplay, and also man. And also the M on, which means magic on. Think of Ronald McDonald making the M, right? Do you believe in magic? Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Which is where Joseph got his wife, and it is also Ra's cult center, Heliopolis. Also, from the top of my head, I believe M is the 13th letter. So it also goes for the hidden hand of masonry, the magical hidden hand, the craft is also what Freemasonry is called, witchcraft. Okay, witchcraft. Switchcraft, witchcraft is garbage. Anyway, also Isaiah is a modern sort of code, right? It's a the language, evolution of language, referring to the old reference of is alpha I ha, right? Is scrambled. Is first part of Isaiah, then A for alpha, is alpha I, the letter I can be also for I, ha, and also as I, aha. Hor aha is Horus, the martial arts, weapon-based martial artist, which is also shortened to Horus the fighter. Okay, so, it's the greater Egyptian area is where the Jews lived, right? They lived right out of Egypt in Israel, which was formerly Canaan. These people were very familiar with the Egyptians' spiritual argument. They clashed with them when they were in captivity in Egypt. So there's a strong connection there. Horus, Horahah is Horus the fighter, which is referring to weapons combat. We know that because of the Narmer palette. So all this means that those who reject the Royal African Falcon Top Martial Arts Order for silly baby lawn magic card stupidity are the devil's children inclined to cheat the true order and champion of God, me. Then it says, this calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. And also we see in Exodus that Moses is said to learn the wisdom of the Egyptians. So it absolutely applies to the anagrams and cryptograms and occult cut-ups and wordplay that we find in the Bible that is deliberately there and overwhelmingly so. For example, Solomon's 666 talents of gold. And he had, I believe it was 700 wives, 300 concubines. Okay, why? Because he's betraying God, and he started doing their pagan, traditions and customs, and he started going crazy. And you have all these other books that are said where Solomon's said to have built his temples with demons and so on and so forth. Okay, so what talents do you have? And do you accept the mark of the beast? Sexual talents, erotic desire, okay, worldly talents, school, talents, academia, worldly talents. The wisdom of the world is confounded by the wisdom from God. I'm falling behind, and I have to do this in two parts. Revelation 14:6. Then I saw another angel flying in midair. He had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. Why did they say he's proclaiming it to the language? Because scribes are encoding things in the language. You see how it's overwhelming evidence. 7, he said in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. These things are said to be things made by God's right hand, and they also refer to other ideas. For example, water can refer to the living water of God, which is righteousness, and all that comes with it and brings affliction to the wicked, right? You see Bruce is saying, be like water. And incidentally, martial arts, right? Martial is marital scramble. Okay, the prostitute versus the bridegroom, valid bridegroom, prostitute, whore that marries herself to the beast in an invalid way, and so on and so forth. Okay, rides the beast, becomes one flesh with the beast. Okay, but the beast is not a man, he's just a beast to be ridden. And she's supposed to marry the bridegroom. Okay, So martial art talents, outdoor sparring in the divine order with moral precision, which cannot be done after I die, right? That is the boundary, the divine verdict from the top martial arts ever versus the boundary of the beasts of this world. He said in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. Okay? Again, these things are said to be things made by God's right hand, and they also refer to other ideas. For example, water can refer to the living water of God, which is righteousness, and all that comes with it, and it brings affliction to the wicked. A second angel followed and said, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all the nations, drink the maddening wine of her adulteries, her adulteries. It's made all the nations drink the maddening wine. Wine symbolizes blood, right? Remember Mass, communion, bread and wine. Okay, so it's the blood. You talk about your family, your blood, your bloodline. Well, where does it come from? We're Roman pagans who like to play God. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. So it's the family lines. As people conform. I'm going to this church, I'm going to this school, and I'm going to come out as a typical this, that, or the other thing. In the Babylonian tradition, Masonic, it's pretty straightforward, right? All right. As it pertains to adult Aries C with 2 E's, and adult Aries C with an EA. Okay, meaning which also could be a sea of people. Where Ares is a Greek deity of chaos and discord, and in Igbo religion, the Son of God, Christ, who comes down from the sky. So why do you think they made the idea? Because in their Greek theater system, the truth causes chaos. They say, what do we do? We're faced with the truth. I stop confronting us with the Holy One of Israel. It's real. Okay? Because to those who live in an order out of chaos, bringing true order brings them chaos, at least initially. And then it destroys them. All right. Christ is based on the Igbo Eri, who the Egyptians seem to have twisted and called Haro Aries, where Har is another word for Horus, it's omitted, and O is the reproductive cycle of the sun in its true and divine form, and Eri is the Igbo Aries. Haro Aries. Horus, reproductive cycle of Eri, the sky god, son of God. Okay, the king of kings. Horus is a play on words for whore, us. The idea is them whoring any female that seems worthy to marry the Son of God, yet is dumb enough to find their life in the world and assimilate out of fear instead of fighting to the death if it came down to it. If fighting to the death isn't logical, because they'll just take away your weapon and rape you or something, then killing themselves is the wise thing to do. A third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup. Right? Cupid. Cup. Stupid Cupid. Cup ID. Cupid. Right? Erotic desire. Stupid Cupid. Erotic desire. Hi, you psychology. Hi, this is my culture. Hi, we met at a club. We met in a corporation. We met at my Greek sorority. We met at my bootlicking church. Right? You stupid Cupid. Psychology. And Eros. Erotic desire. Eros is rose scrambled, which is a symbol of secret love. Ooh, secret occult, secret society love. Right? It's fucking retarded. Stupid Cupid. All right. Reproduction is key here, as God does not want people to reproduce with women that seem good enough to marry me or any female that is outside of the divine order. Being in rebellion against my rule by default means the kids will come out abominations. Write this word down, abominations, and the wordplay. This is vital. Put it on your walls. Will come out abomination, which is a scramble and a play on words for Igbo, man, I shun. No interchangeable vowels needed. Just it comes out flat out, Igbo, I-B-O, second word man, second word I, shun. And Igbo man at alpha sun, and of course main, man, right? Main is a, phonetics apply. Main Igbo at alpha sun. So when they shun me and my spirit, they're an abomination. Babylon, mystery, the mother of prostitutes, an abomination on the earth. Okay, those who cheated Nimrod, who was a mighty warrior before the Lord, Genesis 10, okay, and said, I'm going to come into the synagogue of Satan's spirit, or the Greco-Roman, or the American spirit, or the Western spirit, or whatever bitch-ass nation I'm from. Right? It's fucking retarded. Truly, I tell you, even if you are Nigerian, you have no excuse for coming into your national spirit. It is my spirit. My kingdom is not this world, and I'm out of time, so I'm going to finish in part 2.